Nana Shastra Vichayana Nipuna Sadharma Samstapako Lokana Mitakarino Tribhuvane Manyo Saranyakaro Radha Krishna Padaravinda Bhajana Nande Namatariko Vande Upasana Tana Ragujugo Shri Jiva Gopalako. Offer my respectful obeisances to the six Goswamis, namely Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizing and studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus they are honored all over the three worlds, and they are worth taking shelter of because they are absorbed in the mood of the gopis and are engaged in the transcendental loving service of Radha and Krishna. Om Ajnana Timandasya Snakam Chakshur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Namam Vishnupadaya Krishnavastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namne Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Gacharane Nirvisis Vadi Paskatai Satarane Srila Prabhupada Ki. So this evening we will discuss text 12 of the Nectar of Devotion, text 12, chapter 12, chapter 12 and 13. So in chapter 12, that further aspects of transcendental service. There, the first point is hearing the revealed scriptures. And in the beginning, Srila Rupa Goswami gives his own definition of what is scripture. And also the definition of Madhvacharya. So Srila Rupa Goswami says that scripture is any book which gives enlightenment in the matter of advancing in devotional service. That's according to Rupa Goswami, revealed scriptures. But Madhvacharya defines it different. He says revealed scriptures is referring to books such as the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, Puranas, Upanishads, Vedanta, and any other literature written in pursuance of such revealed scriptures. Hearing the revealed scriptures. What is scripture? Everything what Srila Prabhupada wrote is based on the scriptures, and it's explaining the scriptures. They give us the same message, that in the Vedic system there was the hearing of the revealed scriptures, but there were different focuses. You have the four Vedas, the Rig Veda, Atharva Veda, Sama Veda, Yajur Veda. They are recited, and the pronunciation must be very correct. So the potency comes out of the right pronunciation of the Vedic hymns. But the Puranas is difficult. It's different. The Puranas, the focus is on the meaning. And you have so many Puranas. Do they have a different message? No. It's the same knowledge in different dresses. That you have 6 Puranas for those in the mode of ignorance, 6 for those in the mode of passion, and 6 for the mode in the mode of goodness. And the highest is the pure goodness, the Amala Bhakti Puran, which is the Bhagavatam. That's Suddha Sattva, pure transcendental goodness. So it's differently presented, and according to the capacity of understanding. So the books of the Goswamis and Srila Prabhupada books are also scriptures, because the Goswamis have got the essence of all other scriptures put it together for us, so that we don't have the time to read all these scriptures. You must have a few lifetimes for that. But they have done the work already. That the essence is together in their books and in Srila Prabhupada books. So Rupa Goswami said, according to Rupa Goswami, any book which gives enlightenment in the matter of advancing devotional service is considered scriptures. So that was his definition. So there is also, it is said to Narada Muni here, my dear Narad, a person who writes Vaishnava literature and keeps that literature at home has Lord Narayan always residing in his house. If you have the Bhagavatam in your house, then you have the Supreme Personality of Godhead in your house. So then the Rupa Goswami or Srila Prabhupada from Rupa Goswami's work mentions this, that the Srimad Bhagavatam is the essence of all Vedanta philosophy. It is the natural commentary of the Vedanta. The Vedanta Sutra are aphorism, very cryptic knowledge, and you need a commentary to understand it. So the first verse of the Vedanta Sutra is Janmadya Yasya. The absolute truth is the source of everything. And what's the first verse of the Bhagavatam? Janmadya Yasya yatam vayati tarata sate sabhishyasya tenne brahma hridaya adkevaye moyanti yatsyoya. So this is direct a commentary on Janmadyasya. It starts with Janmadyasya yatam vitaratas tate sabhishyasya. That the absolute truth is the source of everything. And it is Farad, independent. And so many characteristics are given. So it's the essence of Vedanta philosophy, and any person who has become attached in some way or another to the reading of Srimad Bhagavatam cannot have any taste for reading any other literature. In other words, a person who has realized the transcendental bliss of Srimad Bhagavatam cannot be satisfied with mundane writings. I know devotees, when they joined the movement and they got Prabhupada's books, they threw all other books out, no taste anymore for it. That one realizes, this is not going to help me. These books are helping me to become entangled in the material energy, so get rid of it. And they keep the Bhagavatam and Prabhupada's books. So the next point is residing in Mathura. This is a quote from the Brahmanda Purana. In the Brahmanda Purana, it is said that all the results of traveling to all the places of pilgrimage within the three worlds can be achieved by touching the holy land of Mathura. So you just have to go to Vrindavan, and you have the results of going everywhere else. That is the topmost part of the spiritual world, a replica of Goloka Vrindavan, where Krishna had his pastimes. So in the Vara Purana, there is also a statement praising the residential quarters of Mathura. Any person who becomes attracted to other places than Mathura will certainly be captivated by the illusory energy quite a statement. That and it's true that the pure devotee is always internally living Vrindavan. Vrindavan is in their heart, and it's that yes, the Advaita Acharya said to Lord Chaitanya that because Lord Chaitanya was misled by Lord Nityananda, and he was thinking he was on the way of Vrindavan, and he came at the Yamuna. And he came, but it was the Ganges. And he comes out, I think it's the Yamuna, and suddenly he sees Advaita Acharya there with a boat with new garments for him, waiting for him. And Lord Chaitanya says to Advaita Acharya, "What are you doing in Vrindavan?" And the Advaita Acharya said that this is the Ganga, that you have been misled. But wherever you are is Vrindavan, he said. So Srila Prabhupada also, wherever he was turned into the spiritual world, because his absorption in Vrindavan. He left Vrindavan, the Madan Mohan temple. But in his heart, he kept always Vrindavan. So this is the platform of spontaneous attraction. Yeah, you cannot think of anything else than Vrindavan. Now, the next point is rendering service to the devotee, and this starts with this quote from Lord Shiva to Parvati. But this is mentioned in the Padma Purana. That my dear Parvati, there are different methods of worship, and out of all such methods, the worship of the Supreme Person is considered to be the highest. But even higher than the worship of the Lord is the worship of the Lord's devotees. So the way to Krishna is through his devotees. That it is said, a similar statement is mentioned in the 3rd canto, 7th chapter, verse 19. Let me become a sincere servant of the devotees, because by serving them one can achieve unalloyed devotional service unto the lotus feet of the Lord. The service of the devotees diminishes all miserable material conditions and develops within one a deep devotional love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is also a statement from the Skanda Purana. Persons whose bodies are marked with tilak, symbolizing the conch shell, wheel, club, and lotus, and who keep the leaves of tulasi on their heads, and whose bodies are always decorated with gopi chandan, even seen once, can help the seer relieved from all sinful activities. So it's good to put tilak. People see you and they become purified. That they think, oh, that's a devotee of God. And merely they think of the Supreme Lord. And then there is a similar statement in the 1st canto at the end. There it is said, even by remembering the activities of such a Vaishnava, one becomes purified along with one's whole family. What then can be said of rendering service to him? There is a difference in association with devotees or serving devotees. Generally, association leads to service. But hearing is also a form of service. So these are interesting points, that hearing is also a form of service. Srila Prabhupada wanted us to read the scriptures, the Bhagavatam and his books for 2 hours a day. So that's therefore he established in the morning the Bhagavatam class, that 1 hour, and in the evening 1 hour Bhagavad Gita class, and you have 2 hours. That it's important to study both always. Bhagavad Gita is really the essence. That then we have serving the Lord according to one's position. That so one in the Padma Purana, it is said, there is a statement that one should perform ceremonies for the Lord according to one's financial position. And one should observe the different ceremonies and celebrations of the Lord by all means. So if you are a rich person, you must have a rich worship, that according to your position. If you are poor, you offer whatever you have, that according to one's financial position. It's not that one is rich and one's worship is poor. That's not appreciated. We must give the best to the Lord, that we have always the best. And then we speak about devotional service during Kartik. And here a lot of interesting points are made. So the first is Urcha Vrata, devotional service in Kartik. So Urcha Vrata is observed in the month of Kartik, especially in Vrindavan. There is a program for temple worship of the Lord in the Damodar form. Damodar refers to Krishna as being bound with a rope by his mother. Yasoda, it is said, by his mother Yasoda. It is said that just as Lord Damodar is very dear to his devotees, so the month known as Damodar or Kartik is also very dear to them. So the month of Kartik is a month of Radharani, and the month of maximum Vaishnava festivals. There are so many celebrations during that time. There's the appearance of Radha Kund, that Govardhan Puja Gopastami, Srila Prabhupada's disappearance day, that a few other, that's, of course, it is said that this execution of devotional service in the month of Kartik is especially recommended to be performed at Mathura. So some devotees, they go to Kartik, during the month of Kartik, they go to Vrindavan. The day before Kartik, they leave, and the last day of Kartik, they return. They are the whole month of Kartik there. And that's nice. This system is still followed by many devotees. They go to Mathura, Vrindavan, and stay there during the month of Kartik, specifically perform devotional service during this period. So there is a quote from the Padma Purana. The Lord may offer liberation to a devotee, but after some devotional service has been executed, but particularly during the month of Kartik, the devotees want only to attain pure devotional service unto the Lord. That's a purification. that when we perform service in Kartik, then we get a taste in service, and the desires for material enjoyment are kicked out of the heart. So that's very nice to be in Vrindavan in Kartik. The weather is usually very nice, and so many devotees festivals that I've been there once during the Kartik month. That yes. So then we go to this Kartik. Then observing festivals, celebrating the Lord's activities. And that starts with a quote of the Bhavishya Purana. My Lord Janardhan, Krishna, please let us know the date when your mother Devaki Devi gave birth to you. If you kindly inform us about this, then we shall observe a great celebration on this date. O killer of Keshi, we are souls 100% surrendered unto your lotus feet, and we wish only to please you with our ceremonies. So that's this statement that confirms that if we observe these festivals, Krishna is very pleased with us. Next point is serving the deity with great devotion. And that starts with a quote from the Adi Purana. A person who is constantly engaged in chanting the holy name and who feels transcendent of pleasure being enjoyed in devotional service is solely aware of the facilities of devotional service and is never given just mukti. Mukti means just free from material contamination. That liberation is only the beginning to come to our normal condition. The normal condition of the living entity is to engage in devotional service. So this deity worship is a very nice opportunity to serve the Lord in a very personal way. So that is certainly recommended. Once one becomes purified, then serving the deity, that's very nice. So we are coming up near the last 5 points of this chapter, and these 5 points are related to the 5 most potent items of devotional service. And the first is this deity worship. So from the statement here of the Adi Purana on the screen, it appears that a devotee is satisfied simply by being engaged in devotional service. It does not aspire for any liberation for material conditional life. In other words, anyone who is engaged in devotional service is not in the material condition of life, although he may appear so. So that's the first most important item. That in the next chapter, other points on deity worship are mentioned, because the next chapter repeats these last 5 points. It's called the 5 potent forms of devotional service. But we will come to that. The second point is recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam among devotees. So Srimad Bhagavatam is what enables us to connect with Bhagavan, to Shravanam and Kirtan, hearing and chanting the Bhagavatam, connects us with Krishna. Connects us with Krishna. So, Srimad Bhagavatam is a desired tree of Vedic wisdom. Veda means the aggregate of knowledge. And whatever knowledge is required for human society is perfectly presented in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is like confirmed in the beginning of the Bhagavatam, that is the ripened fruit of the Vedic tree that of knowledge, that is this verse 113. Nikama kalptor halitam phalam sukama kamrita drafya samyutat vibhata bhagavatam rasna layam muraske bhuvi bhavaka. For expert and thoughtful man, relish Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desired tree of the Vedic literature. It emanates from the lips of Sukadeva Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful, although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. So Srila Prabhupada writes here, he refers to that verse, and he says, a tree is honored by the production of its fruit. The king of all fruits is the mango. That's the mango. When it's ripe, it's the greatest gift of the tree. And Srimad Bhagavatam is like a ripened fruit of the Vedic tree. But a ripened fruit becomes more relishable when first touched by the beak of a parrot, Sukha. Srimad Bhagavatam has become relishable by being delivered to the transcendental mouth of Sukadeva Goswami. Srimad Bhagavatam should be received in disciplic succession without any breakage. So, when a ripened fruit becomes from the upper part of the tree unto the ground by the process of being handed down from a higher to a lower branch by persons in the tree. So that's the Guru Parampara. And the fruit remains intact. It's not changed, unbroken. And then it can be relished. Lord Chaitanya said, you must learn the Bhagavatam from the person Bhagavatam. That's also mentioned in the purport of the verse 1-18. Nastve sabhati surnityam bhagavata sevya bhagavata tamaske bhakti bhakti naisiki. We chant it every morning. That in the purport of that verse, Srila Prabhupada said, yes, there are two Bhagavatas, the person Bhagavat and the book Bhagavat. And you must learn the book Bhagavat from the person Bhagavat. So that and therefore Srila Prabhupada speaks about Sukadeva Goswami. When Sukadeva Goswami was born, he was a liberated person. During 16 years, he didn't want to come out of the womb, and Krishna had to preach to him and said, I promise you, if you come out of the womb, you will not be, you will be liberated, remain in the liberated position. So he came out of the womb, he left for the forest, and his father was crying, that my son, but only the trees echoed that, and he disappeared. But then Sukadeva Goswami, because the Srila Vyasadeva decided to send his disciples into the forest and chant verses from the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, Gopi Gita and so on. Tavagatamritam tapta jivanam kavireditam kalmasapaham Shavna mangalam shimatatam Yeburi Dekhanti Yeburi Dakhyana. And when Sukadev Goswami heard these verses, he became attracted. And every day they chanted the verses closer to the ashram. And finally he was in the ashram. And then Srila Vyasadeva spoke the Bhagavatam, the whole Bhagavatam to him. So if one is liberated, one is not attracted to anything material anymore. But he became attracted by the Bhagavatam. That means there is a higher pleasure of liberation. That one must come back to one's normal condition of devotional service. And hearing, chanting is devotional service. And then we have association with devotees. These 5 they have repeated in the 13th chapter, that 5 potent forms of devotional service, that so serving devotees, that sadhu sangha is one of these 5, bhakta sangha. So the importance of discussing Srimad Bhagavatam in the society of pure devotees was explained by Saunaka Muni during the meeting at Namisaranya in the presence of Sutta Goswami. Sutta Goswami confirmed that if someone is fortunate enough to associate with a pure devotee of the Lord, even for a moment, that particular moment is so valuable that even those pious activities which can propel one to the heavenly planets or give liberation from material miseries cannot compare to it. In other words, those who are attached to Srimad Bhagavatam do not care for any kind of benefit derived from elevation of the higher planetary kingdoms, or the liberation which is conceived by the impersonalists, such as the association of pure devotees, is so transcendently valuable that no kind of material happiness can compare to it. And then Rupa Goswami, he gives analogies. He speaks about a crystal. So he says, if we associate with flower-like devotees of the Lord, and if our hearts are crystal clear, then certainly the same action will be there. So if we associate with great devotees, their love will enter our heart and reflect that. Another example given in this connection is that, it's about a man and a woman. If they combine, they can conceive a child. But the man must be potent and the woman must not be diseased. That's the point. So if we get spiritual knowledge and it's delivered by a bona fide spiritual master, and we are sincere, it will bear the good results. Then chanting the holy name, chanting Shinam Sankirtanam. So the importance of chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. This chanting is stressed in the 2nd canto. There, 1st chapter, verse 11, Srimad Bhagavatam, Sukadev Goswami tells Maharaj Pariksit, my dear king, if one is spontaneously attached To the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, it is to be understood that he has attained the highest perfectional state. It is specifically mentioned that the karmis who are aspiring after fruitive results of their activities, the salvationists who are aspiring to become one with the Supreme, and the yogis who are aspiring after mystic perfection, can achieve the results of perfectional stages simply by chanting the Maha Mantra. So, like the holy name is like a well-wishing tree that it can fulfill all your desires. So it is said, of course, this is in the Bhagavatam, that one who takes up the chanting of the holy name must have been considered to have passed all the trials of fruitive activities, mental speculation, and mystic yoga. So it's also in the Adi Purana. Krishna is addressing Arjuna, also in the Adi Purana. Anyone who is engaged in chanting my transcendental name must be considered to be always associating with me. And I may tell you frankly that for such a devotee, I become easily purchased. These are very inspiring quotes. We chant holy name every day. So by hearing these quotes, we can understand the importance that it is said in the Padma Purana. It is stated, the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra is present only on the lips of a person who has for many births worshipped Vasudeva. And further in the Padma Purana, there is no difference between the holy name of the Lord and the Lord himself. And as such, the holy name is as perfect as the Lord himself in fullness, purity, and eternity. The holy name is not a material sound vibration, nor yet is any material contamination. So when you chant the holy name, the Supreme Lord is dancing on your tongue, Srila Prabhupada said. If we chant, the Lord comes, he's there. So we should be attentive and welcome him. But if a guest comes and you don't give attention to the guest, how will the guest feel? If we chant Hare Krishna, we should give attention to the holy name. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has recommended that everyone chant the Hare Krishna mantra just to cleanse the dust from the heart. If the dust of the heart is cleansed away, then one can actually understand the importance of the holy name. For persons who are not inclined to clean the dust from their hearts and who want to keep things as they are, it's not possible to derive the transcendental result of the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. And that's an important point. The 10th offense against the holy name, to maintain material attachment, despite hearing so many instructions from the Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita, that about the futility of material life, the temporarity, that it produces dissatisfaction. You get the opposite of what you desire, and still we remain attached. It's madness. So one must really want to give it up. One may be attached still, but one must want to give it up really and pray to Krishna, please take it away. But mostly we pray, yes, take it away, but not right now. No, we must have that courage. That's important. Otherwise, there will be not much advancement. So one should develop this proper attitude towards the holy name. And that proper attitude is coming to the level of spontaneous service attitude. That if one develops that, then one can immediately understand the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord. Now, the last point is Mathura Vas, Mathura Mandalistite is here, residing in Mathura. That so this Mathura, that in Mathura 1, it is said, well, I read the statement. After attaining the Brahma Buddha stage, one can further advance in devotional service. This attainment of transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord is the goal of life and can be achieved very easily for one who lives in Mathura Mandal, even for a few seconds. Quite a statement. That who is that person who will not agree to worship the land of Mathura? Mathura can deliver all desires and ambitions of the fruitive workers and the salvationist who desire to become one with the Supreme Brahman. Certainly Mathura will deliver the desires of the devotees who simply aspire to be engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. That how wonderful is it that simply by residing in Mathura for one day, one can achieve a loving devotional service toward the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The land of Mathura must be glorious, more glorious than Vaikuntha, the kingdom of God. Because we learn that also in Nectar of Instruction. It is said, yes, that So Mathura is glorious because Krishna took birth there, lived there. But higher than Mathura are the 12 forests of Vrindavan, where Krishna had his pastimes. And higher than this forest is Govardhan. Govardhan, place of so many wonderful pastimes, a rendezvous place of Radha and Krishna. And higher than Vrindavan is Radhakund. This is the most sacred place of the universe, but it belongs all to Mathura Mandal. So in chapter 13, again, these 5 potent forms of devotional service are discussed very shortly, a few pages, because they are so important. These 5 that our whole morning and evening program is around these 5. Our temples are embassies of the holy place. They are holy places. Srila Prabhupada has brought Vrindavan to America, so many temples. And we worship every day the deity in the morning, in the evening, at noon. It's part of our temple. And every morning we hear the Bhagavatam, and every evening in the temples the Bhagavad Gita. And we chant all the holy name, Japa, Kirtan, and serving devotees, devotee association. When devotee speaks the Bhagavatam and the other hear, serving that. So our whole morning program is centered around these 5 because they are the most potent. Even one of these 5 can bring you back to the spiritual world. It's so potent. And therefore, he writes here that even a small attachment to any of these 5 items, Rupa Goswami said, can arouse devotional ecstasy in a neophyte. And regarding the worship of the deity, there, I think Rupa Goswami, he gives a warning, and that's an interesting prayer. It says, "My dear friend, if you still have any desire to enjoy the company of your friends within the material world, then don't look upon the form of Krishna, who is standing on the bank of Keshi Ghat, a bathing ghat place in Vrindavan. He is known as Govinda, and his eyes are very enchanting, and is playing upon a flute, and on his head there is a peacock feather, and his whole body is illuminated by the moonlight in the sky." So they say, if you want material life, don't go to see this Krishna. But it's a negative way that Srila Prabhupada writes, the purpose of the purport of this verse is that if someone becomes attached to Srimurti or deity of Krishna by worshipping at home, then he will forget his relationships of so-called friendship and love and society. Thus, it is the duty of every householder to install deities of the Lord at home, to begin the process of worshipping along with all his family members. It's true, but we should only install Gaunitai. That is safe worship. Even if you're Brahmin initiated, the worship of Radha Krishna is too high to do that in a private house. Because if you make offenses in Radha Krishna worship, you get heavy offenses in the worship. But the worship of Lord Chaitanya is very merciful. But still, in principle, also Brahman initiated for worship of Gaunitai. But we can also worship the Supreme Lord in the form of a picture. It's the same. This will save everyone from such unwanted activities as going to clubs, cinemas, and dancing parties, and smoking and drinking. All such nonsense will be forgotten if one stresses the worship of the deities at home. So it keeps one busy in the devotional service, and one must be clean, brahminical, on time the worship, with everything pure, with devotion. It's a mode of goodness. It brings a different way, a different atmosphere in the house. So then it speaks about the Bhagavatam. So what is the Bhagavatam? The Bhagavatam deals with pure devotional service. It throws out all the Kaitava Dharma, the garbage, the religious activities for getting fruitive results, the ritualistic ceremonies, economic development, and becoming one with the Supreme. Those who want these things, they cannot understand the Bhagavatam. That's not possible. The Bhagavatam deals exclusively with devotional service. So one should become purified before going to the 10th canto. So it is said here, only one who studies Srimad Bhagavatam in the spirit of renunciation can understand the pastimes of the Lord, which are described in the 10th canto. In other words, one should not try to understand the topics of the 10th canto, such as the Rasa Lila, unless one has spontaneous attraction for Srimad Bhagavatam. That's Rupa Goswami makes many points. We cannot deal with all of them. But we mentioned most of them already. It's a repetition, this chapter, but it stresses the importance of these 5 points. So, at the end, in the 11th canto, 20th chapter, verse 9 of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Lord himself says, one should execute the prescribed duties of Varna and Ashram as long as one has not developed spontaneous attachment for hearing about my pastimes and activities. In other words, the prescribed forms of Varna and Ashram are ritualistic ceremonies of religion intended for economic development, sense gratification, and salvation. All these things are recommended for persons who have not developed Krishna consciousness. In fact, all such activities are recommended in the revealed scriptures only to bring one to the point of Krishna consciousness. But one who has already developed spontaneous attraction for Krishna does not require to execute the duties prescribed in the scriptures. But that's a high level. High level to come to that spontaneous attraction. So a devotee may perform the duties of Varna Ashram in the sense that he's acting according to one's psychophysical nature, but he does that as devotional service. It does the activity itself for the pleasure of Krishna. In Varna Ashram, that's not a point. There it's done out of duty, and they want to produce dharma, artha, kama, moksha, 4 materialistic goals. But they offer the results to Krishna. But it's only a stepping stone. Varna Ashram, acting out of duty. So it brings a peaceful society which is conducive for devotional service. It is conducive for devotionals to come to that platform, but it's not really necessary that if one performs one's activities and can do them directly for the pleasure of Krishna without any material, without asking anything material in return, then one transcends Varna Ashram. So these are the 5 most potent items of devotional service, and then we will hear next time about the devotional qualifications for becoming elevated in this devotional service and really come to the spontaneous platform. Thank you. Any questions, please?
Hare Krishna, Raj.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for the class. So today we were reading from the 29th chapter of the 3rd canto on the explanation of devotional service by Lord Kapildev, and one of the verses basically states, performing his prescribed duties, one should worship the deity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead until one realizes my presence in his own heart,
right, yeah,
and in the heart of other living entities as well. Actually, the question came up. Basically, does that mean that once one has become advanced enough, one does not need to do perform deity worship? Like, this is one should worship the deity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead until one realizes my presence in his own heart.
Right. That confirms that deity worship is for the Kanistadika, for the beginner. But we are all beginners. That if one comes to the Madhyama platform, the middle part of devotional service, one has transcended liberation. And liberation means that there are no anarthas anymore. You don't suffer anymore. That's a very high platform that some devotees after 50, 60, 70 years of practice, they may come near to that. But we are all in the anartha nivrita stage, the state of purification of the heart. And deity worship is very good for us. But what this verse really says, and that's very beautiful, and that's the mutta the pujari must create. You see the deity of the Supreme Lord on the altar. And the verse said, you must transfer this deity to your heart and feel the presence, the same deity in your heart at the same moment. That's really the purpose of deity worship. And then you become aware the same Lord is in my heart. And it's a fact. That's the purpose of deity worship. If one feels the Supreme Lord always in one's heart, then there is no need for deity worship. You feel the Lord always. He's always with you. Like the question was, because the father of Lord Kapila was Kardama Muni, right? Kardama Muni, he was a mystic yogi and he had attained that perfection of feeling the Lord in his heart. Because the question is, the Lord appears as his son. And then Kardama Muni leaves. He leaves. It's the goal of life to get the Lord as your son, and he leaves. But for him, it doesn't make any difference. He felt always the Lord in himself. That's also, Krishna explains the gopis. He plays his flute and all the gopis come at night and it's full moon and so they come to dance with Krishna and Krishna says, well, why did you come? It's so dangerous at night. And you left your husband. Go home again. You don't have to come here. I'm in the heart of every living entity. You just think of me in the heart. And I'm also with you. So that's a reality. But the gopis did not like that. That he said, now he wants us to go back. First he's attracting us and we cannot resist, and then he's saying to go back. But that is the purpose, yes. Feeling the Supreme Lord every moment in your heart. That's the purpose of deity worship. Transfer the deity to your heart. And deity worship can bring us to that point. But it's not that if the pujari attains that platform, that he gives up deity worship. No, it's ecstatic. Krishna is in the deity. He's also in the heart. He's all pervading everywhere. That does that help?
Yes, thank you, Maharaj.
Okay, something else? Then we will continue Friday evening with chapter 12, chapter 14 and 15. It becomes more esoteric, that very interesting, but quite theoretical. That but because these higher stages, they appear by the mercy of the Lord. It's not by our own endeavor. You cannot attain this by endeavor. It's the mercy of the Lord that gives you that Hare Krishna. So then, looking forward to see you again online next Friday evening, 7 p.m. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.